Hi, I'm Summer Farman. I am a 46-year-old wife and mother of three from Hershey, Pennsylvania. When I was 44, I received the shocking diagnosis of stage 4 lung cancer. As someone who had always enjoyed fitness activities, really took pride in making healthy choices and trying to minimize any risk factors for myself and my family, the diagnosis was a devastating blow. We knew something was up in the spring of 2020 as we were all quarantining and enjoying family time together. I started to become really ill. My oldest has severe cerebral palsy, and he requires being lifted and transferred. And I started to struggle with this in about April of 2020. It was nothing that ever came as a challenge to me before, but yet simple tasks were causing problems. While watching movies or playing games, even simple sedentary games with my family, I was suddenly sent into fits of coughing and choking. We were thinking maybe it was a bout of asthma. Of course, we needed to rule out COVID as well. I was treated for pneumonia as we tried to get to the bottom of this ailment. But ultimately, in the emergency room by myself, a CAT scan revealed that I had fluid crushing one of my lungs. I had then a thoracentesis, and the fluid was drained and sent out for staining to find out what exactly was causing this. Further CAT scans showed that my lungs were filled with tumors. Still, I couldn't quite grasp the reality, I think, of what was happening. How could a 44-year-old with no risk factors suddenly have lung cancer or any type of cancer diagnosis? But of course, why not me? I then had a PET scan, a brain MRI to find out exactly how extensive the disease was, and of course a tissue biopsy that was sent out to Foundation Medicine for next generation sequencing to find out what was driving my cancer. And ultimately it turned out that it was a mutation, that break in a gene that was driving my cancer. And from that point on, we had a plan, we had answers and a plan of action. I first learned about genomic testing right away in the emergency room. The pulmonologist told me there were no benign reasons for my lungs to look like this, that most likely it was a cancer. Where was it coming from? We weren't certain, but that there was a type of testing that could tell us exactly what, or hopefully could tell us what was causing this cancer. Ironically, my father worked in the industry. He spent his career working for a pharmaceutical company. And we talked about cancer at home at the dinner table, about malignant and benign. And as I started to go through this process and explained to my family what was relayed to me in the emergency room, he then taught us all about genomic testing and exactly what it would entail, and explained the steps about how tissue would be taken and then sent off for sequencing. And then as I had questions, my oncologist also further explained them. But it was my dad actually that really laid it all out for us and told us how important it was, and that would help us to have a plan for the future. Since having had this experience myself, having gone through the genomic profiling firsthand, I have become a very strong advocate for its use, whether for initial diagnosis or at the point of progression. I don't think that cancer treatment can really happen without knowing what's driving your cancer. I am very involved with the ALK-positive Incorporated and am an active member of the ALK ALK-positive Facebook support group. And in there you see people from across the country and around the world share their stories, their successes, and sometimes their struggles in their cancer experience, and where the genomic profiling falls in that. And their story is always interesting. And one thing is for certain is that we are always pushing for those tissue samples or blood biopsies, because that is a critical piece in the puzzle. Again, whether upon diagnosis or with progression. I find it quite therapeutic to share my story, to tell others of my experiences with lung cancer and with receiving a diagnosis, and then the next steps that I took, because you don't ever think that a cancer diagnosis is going to happen to you or to your loved one. And when it does, it is completely unrailing and disrupts your life, and it takes you down all different dark paths you did not want to find yourself on. And it's important for other patients to know that they're not alone. So I share my story for them. I also share my story for the community, because I am the face of lung cancer, and I didn't know that lung cancer looked like me. And I think that that's an important thing for people to realize, that why not you? Why not me? Also, I think that it is critical that patients are a partner in their cancer care. And so I share my story to empower others so that they know that this isn't just something that's happening to them, so that they know that there are options and there are choices, and that they are a invaluable part of their cancer team. And I feel like helping to spread that message helps to empower patients and families. My whole life, I have been a glass half full kind of girl. Before the birth of my son, who is now 22, but especially once he was born, with a 5% chance of survival. And although he does have cerebral palsy and is nonverbal, he understands everything that we say, and he is an active and meaningful part of our Fab Five, of our family, of our gang, of our band. But I've always learned, I think, from him to appreciate the small things. But being grateful for every day is something that I live by. This necklace was actually a gift from my mother. I was looking for something fun that could represent lung cancer, and be fun and a talking point. I don't actively wear it around town, but I do pull it out for special occasions, and it is definitely a conversation starter. And it is a part of who I am moving forward.